The next two deck requests I've gotten that I'm trying to do right now are Rise and Yukiko. I don't just want to keep looking at Persona decks, so we're going to actually switch gears a little bit and I'm going to skip a different request up ahead. As you can probably tell by the title, this is Vividred. I don't actually know anything about this anime. I mean, at first they looked like they were dressed up for marching band, and then there was something about like boats, but then it turns out that some of them are key characters, like some straight up Nisekoi nonsense. It's very hard to figure out what this anime is about just from the trial deck, like you can with a lot of other trial decks. I will say that from my searching, number one, it is very difficult to find vivid red pictures that aren't ecchi. Which isn't a problem for me because I love ecchi, but it was kind of hard to get wallpapers for this video. The other thing I'll say is from what I know about Vivid Red, it actually looks kinda boring. I am so sorry if you click this video because you like Vivid Red. But enough of that, let's get to the deck list. As always, if you're just here to net deck the deck list, then here it is. Please enjoy. All I ask is that you leave me a like on the way out. For the rest of us, let's take a closer look at the deck. 18 level zeros. Well, we are just off to an awesome start. So anybody who's been playing Weiss for a while realizes why I had that kind of reaction. 18 is a lot of level zeros to have, and we're going to look at our first problem. The deck comes with 4 of each vanilla level 0. No, no, that's not how you do it. In trial decks, level zeros are color fixers. You get 4 of one color and 2 of another. The 4 of the one color is there to fix the colors and make sure that you have something to level up in your clock in case you need it. 8 vanillas is ridiculous for a trial deck to have. Aoi Power to Protect is our level 0 assist, and honestly she's pretty good. She gives all of your characters plus 500 power, not just the ones in front of her, so she's actually a pretty decent thing to come into a starter deck. Characters that aren't key characters normally won't be going in the front row anyway, so it doesn't really matter that it has that restriction. The trial deck comes with 2 level 0s with Super Encore, and that is actually really good. This is kind of an advanced topic, and newer duelists aren't going to understand why having a level 0 with Super Encore is useful at all. They're going to look at this and think it's a bad card, but it's actually one of the most powerful cards in the deck. Regardless of the kind of deck you run, level 0 is one of the most influential levels of the game because it decides which player is going to be on the offensive and which one's going to be on the defensive, and exactly how many resources they're going to have when they start getting into the actual game. If you have this level 0 in play and you have any 2s and 3s in your hand, then when your opponent attacks this and destroys it, you can get rid of a 2 or 3 that you wouldn't be able to play for like 4 or 5 more turns to just have the advantage of attacking with another character again. And because it's level 0, you can side attack with this card and not lose any soul. Past level 0, this effect is obviously useless, but on level 0, having a level 0 that doesn't die and generates 1 guaranteed stock and probably some soul damage every turn is a huge bonus, especially at the expense of 2s and 3s, which we can't play yet. By the way, for anybody curious, I went and I checked out the flavor text of the truth that she is confessing, and get ready for it, guys. The truth that she's confessing is that she doesn't like tomatoes. Yep, I was just as disappointed as you are. It's kind of tough to talk about Momo hardworking because it's another one of those advanced concepts like the last one we talked about, where a lot of newer players aren't going to understand it. But the other kind of side of that is, even though it's kind of an advanced tactic, it's not good. When you put it into play, you can discard a character from your hand to the waiting room and then get a character with docking in its name from your library, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Pulling cards out of the library pretty much is a way of thinning out your deck, and in a way this is kind of neat, but it's not neat until like level 1 or level 2, because the only docking character that you have is a level 2. So even though this is a level 0, you technically don't actually want to be doing anything with it until like level 1-ish. If you have to play it early, you can discard something to guarantee that you have the level 2 in your hand, because it is a pretty good level 2 and it does thin out your deck by a card. But because you have to discard a card in order to do it, your hand isn't going up, so it's not actually giving you the advantages that a lot of other cards would. Like, cards with Bond are way better than this, because you only have to pay stock and your hand goes up by 1 when you play it. This little ferret otter thing is our secondary backup character. I said backup, I meant assist. Y'all know what I meant. If you have it in the back row, which is where you're going to want it, like you could technically do this in the front row, but it's not going to work as well. You can rest two of your characters, and you can put one of your characters in your waiting room into your hand. Now, this is good because this does increase hand advantage. You also have to pay 2 stock for it, but you can generate stock pretty easily, especially with the level 0 with Super Encore. Overall, this is a very good card. It also leads into kind of another advanced tactic that I'm going to be talking about in a later video, where if you thin out the cards in your waiting room before your first deck refresh, you have a very good chance of winning the game because you're just so much harder to hit, but more on that later. Next, we look at our level 1. Our level 1 is a little bit underwhelming. The deck comes with 2 copies of Rey Mysterious Girl, which is our 5500 vanilla. You guys know my feelings on these. I don't like 5500 level 1 vanillas. If you like them, great, fine, whatever, use them. But thank God the deck had the courtesy to only come with 2 copies. Always Snack Time is slightly better than a level 1 5500, but not by a whole lot. This card still is pretty bad. It's a 5000, but if you have 2 or more other key characters, this gets, oh, wait for it, plus 1000 power. So it says 6000 instead of a 5500. Isn't that amazing? I hear sometime in the future they're going to start releasing cards that are so powerful you only have to pay 1 stock and they're 7000 all of the time. I know, it sounds like madness to me too. I'll argue that Near Miss Hearts is the most powerful card in the deck, and it's very fitting that it also has some of the best artwork. I know it doesn't look like much from the surface, but it's a trial deck card that costs 1 for 6500 and Super Encore. The 500 power you lose from not having the full 7000 vanilla power is definitely made up for with the fact that it has Super Encore. Level 1 is normally when the real game begins, and there's a lot of very powerful cards that step over you at level 1. Having a card like this, where you can just discard 1 card from your hand and be able to stand up and attack with it again on the next turn, is very, very good. Besides, base power-wise, it comes out stronger than every other level 1 here in this trial deck, and actually in a lot of trial decks, bar the 7000 vanillas, which are amazing. Finally, we have Akane Snack Time, and this card is just barely good enough, okay? Barely. Because it has the potential to be 7000, but even then, it's still kind of worse than the other Snack Time, which is also really bad, because this becomes a 5000 during your opponent's turn, which isn't good. Even the 5500 vanillas are stepping over this. Okay, let's take a look at our level 2 lineup. Our level 2 lineup is a little bit better than our level 1 lineup, but not by a whole lot. Let's see why. Let's first take a look at the fact that the deck comes with 2 9000 vanillas, which almost makes up for the fact that they tried to feed us 5500 vanillas at level 1. The 9000 level 2 vanillas are some of the best cards in the entire game because they have a super high base power, so they have a lot of survivability. They get over a lot of characters that just try to rely on effects. They only cost 2 stock, which is reasonable, and they swing for 2 soul damage. These cards are perfect for finishing games, even if your opponent is strong enough to get over them. Now that we have the vanilla out of the way, let's look at Akane First Stocking. Akane First Stocking is an important card because this card is the entire point of the deck. Literally, the entire point of the whole deck is to set up this combo. It's a change in a trial deck that has probably one of the easiest setup conditions I think I've ever seen in a change deck. Let's break it down step by step. First, it costs 2 stock. Well, it changes into a level 3, and level 3s normally cost 2 stock anyway. This card and Aoi Power to Protect both go to the memory. Some people are going to see this as a negative because you're losing 2 cards from your side of the field, but there are some things that make this really okay. First, Aoi Power to Protect is our back row character, in case you can't remember who she is. This means we don't have to go through any kind of ridiculous setup, because chances are if you're level 2, you're going to have at least 1 Aoi Power to Protect in the back row anyway, and your opponent doesn't have many ways of sniping it off. The fact that these go to the memory is also a plus, because every card in your deck counts for about 2% of your deck. If these are going to the memory and not going to the waiting room, and you're getting another card out of the waiting room, then once you deck refresh, you're pretty much increasing the chances of climax canceling by about 6%. I know the math there is kind of off. I know some math nerds are going to get on my case and say that it's not 6%, but the point is, deck refreshing 3 cards less is a bonus. The next thing that makes this good is the fact that it doesn't specify an actual phase. Normally it says at the beginning of your draw phase, at the beginning of the encore step, at the beginning of the climax phase, but no, this is just sometime during your main phase you can do this. Which means if you need to set up for it, you can. It's completely fine. You can just drop the level 0 Momo and get this card out of your deck to thin your deck by 1, and then play it on level 2, and then start setting up for the level 3 change. All in all, this is a really great core for a trial deck to have. Definitely one of the best we've seen. Normally, trial decks try not to, differentiate themselves too much. They try to be kind of safe, try to just ease newer players into the basics of the game. But I feel like this deck is actually going to need some prior knowledge of the game to play effectively because of how complicated the strategy can be to set up. But I really like decks like this because they force the player, even if they're new, to get better at the game by using actual strategies and not just learning basics. The first time a newer player picks up one of these decks and pulls off that change combo to go to the level 3 at level 2, they're going to go, oh, wait a second, that move just put me really far ahead. So, since this move is so powerful, I should try to optimize my plays to pulling off this move as consistently as possible. Which is nice. The deck also comes with the level 2 backup, 2 copies of it, which makes complete sense because what you're trying to do is pull off the level 3 at level 2, and if your opponent has anything that steps over it, then you can just play this card from your hand so that all of your hard work doesn't go to waste. Okay, now that we have all of the really epic stuff out of the way, we're going to start looking at the really bad stuff. The deck comes with 2 copies of the 8500 vanilla, and these are garbage. I don't care who you are, I don't care what arguments you try to make. The 5500 you can almost kind of argue for because they're free, and you can play them at any point after level 1 just to get some free soul damage and attack an open spot. Paying 1 for a card that's likely going to die at any moment is never worth it, especially if you can pay 1 more stock and just get a 9000 that swings for 2 soul damage. To round off our level 2s, we have Momo heading to school, which we only get 1 copy of. A lot of the times when a deck only comes with 1 copy of something, it's because it's super powerful and they want to squeeze as much money out of you by getting you to get as many of the decks as possible. Good thing that's not the case here, because Momo heading to school is one of the weakest cards on the deck. First, it's a 7500, which is not good. Second, if you have at least another character with Akane in the name, this goes up to a 9000, which is arguably good, but it still only swings for 1 soul damage. Another problem this card has is it only gets the power bonus if you have Akane in play. The main Akane you're going to be playing at this level is the one that turns into Vividred, and you know what Vividred's name isn't? Akane. So there are going to be a lot of chances where this card is only going to be 7500 for 1 stock. And finally, let's take a look at the grand finale of the deck, Vivid Blue, the level 3. Vivid Blue, didn't I call this Vivid Red earlier? Huh, that was my bad. I wonder how many people are going to comment about me saying Vivid Red even though I'm fixing it now. Should be an interesting experiment. This is her, Vivid Blue, the entire point of the deck. This is where all of our hard work comes into play. Now, a lot of people who have been playing the game for a while are going to look at this and see some very glaring problems with its second effect, but hold on guys, I sat down, I really thought about it, and this effect is actually pretty amazing. Now let's start actually looking at the card. Its first effect, Recollection, only really takes place if you were able to pull off the change combo, because that's probably the only chance you're going to get to actually get 2 key characters into your memory. The only other way I could see is if your opponent's doing something really funky with like the super kick Chie or something, but that's probably not very likely, so we'll just assume you only get that if you pull off the change combo. Its second effect takes place whether you were able to pull off the change combo or not. So you can look at up to X cards from your deck, X being the number of key characters you have in play when this card hits the field, and you can put one in your hand and the rest in the waiting room. At first, I actually thought this was a really bad effect because if you happen to hit any climaxes, then you're going to put yourself at a huge disadvantage. But looking at the timing, I actually think this is a really, really good effect. Let's say you use it at its maximum power through the change. Let's say you change into this and you have all of your other character slots filled. Well, you got rid of 2 characters, so you have 4 in play. You look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and if one of them is a climax, you can just put that card in your hand and put the rest into your discard pile. That's a deck thin of 3 cards, and even though you hit a climax, and normally that would be really bad, you can immediately play the climax to start your climax phase, and then it's not really that bad at all, because after you attack, that climax card goes to your waiting room, and chances are, if you're at level 2, you're probably pretty close to a deck refresh. Also, if you're insanely lucky and none of the 4 cards are a climax, then that means you deck thinned your deck by about 8%, and you are probably going to get some climax cancels during your opponent's turn. The final thing I want to talk about with this effect is it says up to. So hypothetically, you could just draw 1 card from your deck. You don't even have to discard anything. Since it says up to, you could just choose to only pick 1 and put the top card of your deck into your hand, which just straight up increases hand size. Overall, I think this is pretty amazing because it's like the deck requires you to set up something kind of unique, kind of advanced, and then you get the payout of a really good level 3. The deck also comes with 2 copies of the event Connected Hearts. The event for this deck is actually really good too. The fact that it costs 2 kind of sucks because you don't really want to be spending a whole bunch of stock on events, but this is very worth it. You can rest 2 of your characters, mostly going to be back row characters because they don't attack anyway and you don't want to lose any of your attacks. And then you can choose 2 key characters from your waiting room and put them back in your hands. The deck really takes advantage of this with a lot of characters that have Super Encore, like really good characters with Super Encore, and it also thins your deck out by 2 cards when you have to deck refresh, because your discard pile will eventually become your deck, and getting rid of 2 cards from it and pretty much is like getting rid of 2 cards when you would actually have to deck refresh. The only kind of thing about this, obviously the stock being already talked about, is the fact that probably at some point you're going to play those 2 cards again, so it's not really thinning out your next deck that much unless you're playing it on like level 2. But regardless, this is a very, very good card. Also, I don't mean to go on a tangent here. On a more childish note, this card features 2 naked little girls kind of like looking at each other, I guess. Not really looking at each other, their eyes are closed, but the point I'm trying to make is they have the most hilarious effect text I think I've ever seen, just because of the picture. Akane says, "What is this?" Aoi says, "Something is spilling in." I know, it's so juvenile to point something like that out. I'm so sorry. I know like 8 people just unsubscribed just as I was talking about this, but I thought it was kind of funny. These are the climaxes for the deck, and one of them is called Naked Ring, and another one is called Naked Impact, and I would love to make a joke about this, but I already kind of blew my thing on the whole something spilling into little girls thing before. The deck comes with 4 of the red one, Naked Ring, and 2 of each of the blue one. The fact that it comes with a book trigger is actually really, really cool because it adds to the whole combo idea of the deck. Because you have so many cards with good Super Encore, the fact that you can draw cards that are probably going to be more characters that you can use to Super Encore with is just really great and advanced for a trial deck. Also, I'd like to point out that Naked Ring and Operation Key Assignment have the exact same effect and the exact same soul trigger icons, so you could really cut one of them if you really needed to. The deck doesn't actually feature any of the +2 soul climaxes, which would have been broken. +2 soul climaxes and Super Encore are broken, 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 broken. The deck on its own is really good, as you've heard me talk about, but here are some changes that you can make if you happen to have 2 copies of the deck lying around. At level 0, start by taking out all 8 of the vanillas. This deck is good enough that we don't need any of the level 0 vanillas. Put in 2 more Aoi Confession of Truth, as she will be our main beater. put on 2 more of Momo Hardworking because she's one of the main cores of the deck. Our entire strategy here is going to be playing Momo Hardworking, discarding Vivid Blue, and then searching our deck for the level 2 docking, putting it in our hand, and then at level 2 being able to change with no problems. Finally, put in one more Kenjiro Great Scientist, just to round us out to 15. We can use Kenjiro in the back row if we only happen to have one Aoi power to protect, to kind of save our Momos and our Akane near miss hearts, or whatever happens to get discarded a little bit too quickly. We don't want to rely on the effect because we have a lot of other things to be doing with our stock, but the fact that we have the option is good. At level 1, don't touch any of the Akane near miss hearts because that is going to be our main beater and the main thing that carries us. Don't touch the Aoi snack times just because we're a little low on level 1 beaters and we kind of need it. While we're at it, put in one more of the Akane snack time. I don't like either of these snack times, but we need something other than just near miss hearts to be attacking with, and they're kind of useful for that, I guess, because they don't cost any stock. Finally, take out the 2 Ray Mysterious Girls, because ain't nobody need that 5500 bullcrap at level 1. At level 2, we're obviously going to put in 2 more Akane First Docking because it's the main changer in our deck. So make sure that 2 more of those go in. We're also going to put in 2 more of the 9000 Beater because those are obviously really good. And in case we can't pull off our strategy immediately, or in case we pull off our strategy but don't have enough attackers, we can play the 9000 Beaters as well. Go ahead and put in one more of the 3000 backup because that's actually really good too. Because it's a key character, we can actually recycle it with Kenjiro, so having the extra one there to make sure we at least have one in our hand pretty much all of the time is a good thing. Take out both copies of Palette Suits Equipped Aoi because 8500 vanillas are really bad too, just as bad as the 5500 vanillas. And also take out Momo heading to school because we have way better options. Finally, at level 3, put in 2 more copies of Vivid Blue because Vivid Blue is the entire point of the deck and we want to make sure that we can get one in our waiting room. Leave the events just as they are. Connected Hearts is a good card to have it too. I wouldn't really run more than that because you don't want to be pulling it off any more than once, to be completely honest. But we want to increase our chances of being able to pull it off at level 1. Finally, we hit our climaxes. The climaxes are fine the way they are if you really want them that way, but personally, I would take out 2 of the naked rings and put in 2 more Operation Key Appears. This is mainly because I like the book trigger, especially with characters that have super encore. You could also make the argument that 1000 power 1 soul climaxes are super powerful early in the game, and even late in the game. Heck, 1000 power 1 soul is pretty much good anytime. And I'd have to say that's about it. I know this video is ridiculously long, but if you liked it, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up because those things really do help us out. Leave your thoughts on the deck in the comments section below, along with any requests on what you want me to look at next. And finally, subscribe to stay up to date on the latest Kudou news. I'll catch you later, Weiss fans.